on to the next Roman tomb. We'll now visit the tomb of Publius Vesonius Philaros, his master Vesonia, and then his friend Marcus Aurelius Faustus. So let's get a quick outline of Pompeii, and here's the city limits again. And here are the two theaters, the amphitheater, and then from the last tour video, we were over here looking at the tomb of Obelius Firmus. We're now going to go all the way across town to the other side, and we're going to look at the tomb of Publius Vesonius Philaros. Let's get a little closer here. And we're now outside the gate that is right outside the amphitheater. And you'll see there's a road right here going along the perimeter of the city wall. And if you look closer, you'll see there's a bunch of, looks like square structures. These are tombs. So this is kind of basically a Roman graveyard and necropolis. And the tomb we're going to focus on today is right here. Get a little closer to it and put it in 3D view. This tomb right here is one we're going to focus on. It's about 15, 20 feet in height. You'll see it has a retaining wall around the perimeter. In this kind of like courtyard in the back, this is where they found different gravestones with different remains of different people. And this tomb represents three people. Publius Vesonius Philaros, his master Vesonia, and then Marcus Aurelius Faustus. And in the front, there are three statues, and then there's also a little plaque or two plaques in the front. Let's actually get a quick, closer view of this. I can't actually go into street view from where we are, so we got to look at a picture. So here's a picture of this tomb from the ground level. And the first you'll notice is there are three statues. Their heads are missing because they were knocked off during the eruption. You'll see they're all wearing togas, traditional Roman kind of formal wear. So if this was the modern age and these were statues built today, they'd be wearing tuxedos instead of togas. Below their statues are two plaques. Let's get a little closer to these plaques and get a closer look. So these statues represent the three people who were laid to rest in this tomb. The first one is Publius Vesonius Philaros. He's the first one. And then the second one is Vesonia. And then the third one is Marcus Aurelius Faustus. Let me show you how to spell those names again. So it's Publius Vesonius Philaros, Vesonia, and Marcus Aurelius Faustus. So essentially, Publius was a slave to Vesonia. And Marcus is his friend. And how we know that is we can look at the actual text. You'll see underneath Vesonia is the word patrona, and that is Latin for patron or master. So basically, Vesonia owned Publius. And then if you look over here, how we know Marcus is a friend to Publius is that he uses the word amico. Amico in Latin is friend. Now, how do we know that Publius built this tomb? It says it right here. Basically, he's saying, I built this tomb. So we know he built it, and most likely he built this in his lifetime. And one kind of cool thing we notice about this tomb is he had to change things before he passed away. So one thing we see he changed, he had to kind of fit it in here, is the word Augustulus. Augustulus is a Roman magistrate. So basically, it's an elected official in Rome. And so what an Augustulus would do is usually they would sponsor gladiator games or other public events within Pompeii, and they usually had to use their personal funds to fund these. So usually the town council or the government didn't fund it, but usually the Augustulus did. So that tells us that Publius actually did quite well in life after he was freed by Vesonia. So we can probably figure out that Vesonia passed away first because she would have to free him for him to be an Augustulus. And another thing we notice about this tomb is that the person who was doing the inscription made a mistake. You'll see that this text looks a little bit different than the rest. It looks a little bit newer. So it looks like they had done a typo or a misspelling. So what they did is they covered it in some concrete and then recarved the proper word letters here. So that's kind of a neat little mistake that happened. So again, essentially, Publius is a slave to Vesonia. She freed him, and he was able to become quite successful, looks like, in Pompeii. And then when he had this tomb built, he wanted to make sure his friend Marcus was buried with him. Now, there's a little bit of drama. So if we look down further down, you'll see there's another plaque. This plaque was posted after the first one. So this one up top is number 1, and then this one down here is number 2. So this plaque down here will show that this story up top takes kind of a twisted turn. So before we move on to the actual text about how things kind of went wrong for Publius, let's go back one more thing. You'll notice that they're wearing togas. So togas are the Roman equivalent of tuxedos. So they're very formal. And again, Vesonia is in the middle, Marcus is on the right, and then Publius is on the left. And let's now look a little closer at this inscription right here. And one thing you want to take note is the word I can't do that. Cancel. Is libertas. That means usually a person who was a slave who was freed. So that's mentioned a couple of times in this plaque. So let's actually look closer at what it means when we translate it. So we actually translate the text. This is what it says. Stranger, delay a brief while if it is not too troublesome, and learn what to avoid. This man, who I had hoped was my friend, I am forsaking. A case was maliciously brought against me. I was charged, and legal proceedings were instituted. I give thanks to the gods and to my innocence. I was freed from all distress. May neither the household gods nor the gods below receive the one who misrepresented our affairs. So basically what Publius is saying is that Marcus screwed him over. We don't know what he did. So we have to kind of guess. Some historians think that maybe there might have been a love triangle between the 3 people. Or maybe Marcus was jealous of Publius' success and wanted to kind of get him out of the way and brought false charges against him. But we really don't know. All we do know is that Publius got his revenge on Marcus by telling everyone that Marcus is not a trustworthy dude. He's somebody that you have to watch out for. So the amazing thing about this is that this tomb was built before Publius was he died. So that meant he took conscious decision to actually slander Marcus and say, "Hey, this guy's not trustworthy. You can't trust him. He brought false charges against me." So again, we don't know what Publius and Marcus got into for a dispute, but what we do know is that Publius got his revenge on Marcus, and everyone knows, even 2,000 years later, that you can't trust Marcus Aurelius Faustus. This is the end of this part of the tour.